let's do this.
This is spaceships, it's monsters, it's Star Wars, we love it.
If you've been around the internet, you've probably heard about this movie. There's a lot of debate on it. Good? Is it bad? Same? Is it different? Well, I say that it's a pretty good movie right up until this thing gets introduced. Oh, look, it's another Death Star. Now the whole thing is Star Wars A New Hope all over again. So what would it be? Take out the super weapon, and what kind of movie do we have left? Unfortunately, I can't really afford any real actors, so I got some actors I can't afford. So, the movie pretty much starts out exactly like normal. Ta-da! The title screen, and it scrolls by, blah, blah, blah. We're all setting things up. You know how it goes. The conclusion, find Luke. This is good. We, the audience, want to find Luke. The characters want to find Luke. Everybody's looking for this guy, so we're all on the same page. Start off on a desert planet, and Poe Dameron is visiting Jakku, trying to talk to this old man that used to work with Luke, and it's like, oh, I need a clue to find Luke. Okay, here's a clue to find Luke. And he and BB-8 are going to go off and look for Luke when all of a sudden, oh no, here come the bad guys. So they start slaughtering random villagers while Poe and BB-8 try to leave. Now, one change I think would work best here is that instead of having a comrade get shot and that waking up Finn to what he's doing, it's the old former monk that he gets gunned down, and as he dies, he's the one that paints Finn, and he says something like, be free, or maybe does some sort of force voodoo, and from that moment, Finn's like, whoa, hey, what am I doing here? What's going on? We're shooting people. This ain't right. And that'll give us our first hint at why everybody's trying to find Luke Skywalker. Poe gets captured. Finn and the stormtroopers are all there. Kylo Ren comes in and interrogates them. All that's still the same. The big difference is that this time, when Kylo notices that there's something different about Finn, there's a bit more of an explanation than just, I sense he has main character power. Whoever gave a stormtrooper main character power? We don't mark stormtroopers for that reason. They're supposed to be gunned down. So they all go back to their ship. That's when we meet Rey, and we see pretty much the same thing we see in the movie. She goes and gets things. We see her life. Another change I'd like to make is that instead of just the scene where she is cleaning parts and looking at an old woman, she's working on repairing something that we can't really see, but sharp-eyed viewers might recognize that it's a close-up of the Millennium Falcon, and she's helping this old woman repair the thing. So they get back to the ship, and Captain Phasma's like, hey you, who said you could be a main character? And Finn's like, screw you, I will be a main character. I will choose my own path. And Phasma's like, you go get yourself conditioned right away. Finn's like, oh, okay. But no, he tricks them. He grabs Poe, and they go running off to get in a TIE fighter. And the TIE fighter has an exciting action chase where it flies around. Then something happens, and it crashes onto Jakku. So as she's going about her day, Rey then runs into BB-8 being captured by some weird person. Only this time, maybe instead of just yelling at a guy to let the droid go, maybe she offers some kind of deal, because, you know, she's a scavenger out here too. She can at least understand taking away a guy's meal ticket. Maybe shows him just a little bit of mercy. But she and BB-8 team up, and they go on their little adventure. They go to town. The Simon Pegg character offers her, you know, the 60 portions, and she's like, no, he's my friend now. I won't sell him out. Of course, around here is when the TIE fighter has crashed, and we see Finn get out, start wandering the wasteland. When he comes to the town, that's when he notices BB-8 and Rey. And we have the deal where first, you know, some guys jump Rey. They're trying to steal the bot, and she's fighting them off. And, you know, she's doing pretty good. But then they get, like, 2 more guys to come in, and then she starts getting a little overwhelmed. And so that's when, like, Finn comes in, and he helps take care of one of them while she, you know, knocks out somebody else, and maybe BB-8 can shock one of the dudes and help a little bit. So they all have a nice little team up, and the bad guys scamper off, and that's when they kind of have their moment of, hey, are you a main character? Yeah, are you a main character? Let's all be main characters together. Around here is when the bad guys send, quote unquote, bombing run. Now, for some reason, to bomb a city on a planet, they send TIE fighters. Look at this thing. This is not designed for atmospheric flying. I mean, you just have one strong crosswind, just hit this ship at this angle, and wow, it crashes. I mean, at least the TIE bomber looks like it can navigate through the air a little bit better. Or maybe you use a completely new TIE fighter that'll maybe give you a little foreshadowing for an upcoming Rogue One movie, and you have this thing fly in and attack. Our main characters are running, and they get on board the Millennium Falcon, and they have some problems. You know, Rey's not really good at flying it, and it kind of bangs around in some stuff while the TIE fighters are chasing them. And we have a nice little action sequence. So we get a sequence where Rey is trying to master flying this, and, you know, she's maybe bouncing on the ground, hitting some stuff. The TIE fighters are zooming in on them, and the two characters are really trying to get their footing, right? Finn goes down to be a gunner. He's trying to shoot at them. Rey, meanwhile, is trying to fly everything. When they go into the remains of the Star Destroyer, Rey needs to like bounce off the walls a couple times and scrape the ship, showing how untried and how rookie she is. She can maybe even have a funny line where she scrapes the wall and then looks back and screams, "I just fixed that!" And we all laugh and such. And then instead of just having this gun just happen to jam, you know, while Rey's flying, maybe she bumps into something and that messes it up. And then Finn can be like, "Oh no, you've broken my gun, you crazy driver." Rey, instead of doing some fancy maneuvering, just says, "Well, we've got another one." Finn's like, "Oh, right." So he like climbs up the way and he gets into the gun on top of the ship, and they, you know, shoot down a couple more of these TIE fighters as they're going around, and they maybe get one left. And so Rey gets a chance to show off when like she's zooming down and goes around a corner, and it turns out that that's a tunnel that's actually collapsed. So she just lands and brings the ship to a stop, and the TIE ship comes flying down, rounds the corner, and oh no, there's a wall, and they just run smack into it and blow up. And then Rey's like, haha, that collapsed a year ago, and then flies the Millennium Falcon out. Then instead of just going into space, maybe when they come out, there's like a dozen more ships all waiting for them. Characters are like, uh-oh, I don't see how we'll get out of this one. But then blaster fire from above blows them all up. Boom! And then that's when some new fancy ship comes in, something we've never seen before, and lands, and out walks Han Solo and Chewbacca. And Han's like, "I thought I had heard a lead that my ship was here, and I was coming to talk to that junk dealer, Simon Pegg, when I saw you guys take off in it. I'd like my ship back now, please." And the characters are like, "Oh my god, you're Han Solo! Woohoo!" So all the characters connect. We get a little powwow where they kind of catch the characters up and us, and we go back to catch up with the bad guys, and we see Kylo Ren having a walk and talk with his boyfriend, General, what was his name? General Hicks? Mix? General Redneck, whatever. They're having a talk, and in the movie, they have one of the dumbest lines ever where Kylo Ren's like, "Maybe we should use some clones." And the general's like, "My child soldiers are perfectly capable." I mean, why is it even a choice for the Empire of clones or regular soldiers? Like the little Mexican girl said, why not both? Why don't you get some regular guys and clone them and have like double your army? Anyway, so to change things up, we have General Hux and Kylo Ren. We can maybe bring Captain Phasma in and have a little council of bad guys like we have council of good guys elsewhere in the film. And they have a little argument where Hux and Phasma give the audience an idea that they have this conditioning system to convert civilians into soldiers. And then they hint, our part of this program is, there's nothing wrong with it. We're doing all we can. It must be your screw up. So they come in and they have a little talk with Supreme Leader Snoke. Snoke's like, "Kylo, you must continue the program." Kylo's like, "Yeah, I will not fail you, master. And everybody leaves. And then Kylo goes into a room, and this is where we find out why everybody's looking for Luke Skywalker. Inside this room are just rows and rows of children, like strapped down in these chairs, and they're having this propaganda, just constantly images and sounds just constantly beamed into their heads. They're all about 8 to 12. Kylo comes in and like stands in front of the group, and we don't really see it exactly, but we get a good sense from camera work and the music that he's doing something here with the dark side. Clear implication is that they are the weapon of the Empire this time. The weapon of the bad guys isn't a literal blow up the planets ones. It's a real psychological, that they are turning ordinary people into stormtroopers using a combination of technology and the dark side. That's why they want to find Luke so much, because the Jedi and the light side of the Force can free everyone. That was the point with Finn earlier in the movie when the old monk used the Force to free him from the mind. We know that if we can find Luke Skywalker, he can do this to the entire army of stormtroopers all over the Empire, and they will lose one of their biggest weapons. They will have no army to support them. And if that wasn't clear enough for the audience, Han Solo and the group all arrive at that little bar run by Maz Kanata, and in we see Princess Leia and C-3PO's waiting for her there, and it's like, oh, this is a meeting up for the Resistance. Through here, things are explained to Rey, and by consequence the audience, the general layout of the galaxy now, that maybe there's, one half is good, one half is bad, but they have kind of a Cold War situation, and so instead of just an out-and-out battle, the Alliance is supporting these internal disruptions for the First Order, but they can't really start an out-and-out conflict. Han and Chewie are smuggling in ships and weapons for the Resistance to use. Princess Leia, who's older now and maybe has some physical scars as well as emotional scars, is kind of guiding and overseeing this Resistance force. And then, of course, this all kind of makes Finn a little uncomfortable, because he kind of knows it, but because of his before and after conditioning, like, brain hasn't connected everything yet. And this is also where Leia reveals that she has part of a map that shows where Luke is, maybe about a third. BB-8, he has another third. If they can just find the last third, they can put them all together, have a map for where Luke Skywalker is. They're not real sure where it is. They think it may be with R2-D2, but they're not sure where he is at the moment. Anyway, we get a nice scene where Han and Leia first meet, and they have a real nice moment. Kind of like the movie, but maybe change things up a little bit, where it's really what happened with their son that sort of tore them apart. And we get a sense that they really do love each other, and they still really want to be together, but the pain of what happened with their child is just so much that they ended up kind of turning their backs on each other and both working on this Resistance project. But, they still love each other, and it's really only ironically by being apart that they can still kind of be together for these brief meetings. But, we really get the sense that if they were actually, together like a couple, having to live each day, that they would probably get divorced then. That this incident with Kylo has just torn them with the wound that they really can't heal. They explain what's going on, and Rey's like, this doesn't really involve me. I want to go home now. And Finn's like, yeah, I'm not interested either, and he's going to leave. That's when Poe returns back into the scene. He's like, hey guys, did you miss my awesomeness? And Finn's like, heck yeah, I did. They have their little bro moment, hugging or whatever. BB-8's like totally happy to see him. Poe reveals that they actually know where the bad guy station is because Finn has been there. Finn is a stormtrooper that is broken program, and everyone's like, what do you mean you're a former stormtrooper? And he's like, yeah, I am no longer conditioned. Leia can emphasize to him and the audience that, yeah, that's why we want to get Luke, so we can free all stormtroopers like you. Poe is like, yeah, but with Finn now we can go find this place and stop the bad guys, stop their evil plan. And Finn's just like, no, I don't want to do it. And I think here we could have some nice character moments where characters kind of pair off for a minute, old and new. I really like the idea of Han and Rey having a moment where Han's like, look, you can't keep running. you need to like stay and fight for something. You need to like make your own home. And Rey's like, no, I need to return to Jakku. And Han's also like, well, you banged up my ship, so you've got to work for me, repairing all the damage you do. And Rey's kind of like acts upset, but she's really kind of happy that somebody kind of cares and is kind of nice and fatherly to her. And he kind of convinces her that no, she needs to fight for something and quit waiting around for life to happen. Kind of the way he used to be, where he just kind of coasted through stuff, just tried to make it by. And it was meeting Luke and the princess that gave him a purpose. And meanwhile, Finn's wanting to storm out, and Leia's like trying to stop him. And she can bring up time that she was on the Death Star and was horribly tortured, and it was a really dark, emotionally trying time for her. But that didn't stop her. She went back into the fight. She fought the Emperor again, kept going off the Empire, and she faced her trauma. She didn't run from it. And Finn, after a while was like, well, okay. And everyone comes together. They figure out a plan. Right here is free time. Basically, we have a gap in the story here where we can really put anything and everything. If we are running long on time, we can just move the characters directly to the final confrontation. If we need like 5 minutes in the movie, we can have some more character moments with Chewbacca and maybe Poe, or Finn kind of talks with Rey a little, or have some more moments between Han and Leia. Or if we need like a half hour or an extra hour on there, then we can say that they can't use the Millennium Falcon to infiltrate the base. They'll have to go get a new ship. And then we can have an action sequence where all the characters like sneak into a dockyard and steal this ship, and then they fly it to the main base. Thanks to Finn giving them directions, Han, Chewie, Rey, and Finn, maybe Poe, we'll kind of see how it goes, all arrive at the bad guy's place. The obvious problem is that from here, the characters will all want to be together in a group, but we kind of want to split them out. Probably seems logical Finn and Han and Poe to all go and check out the reprogramming center while Rey and Chewie go off to sabotage the base. So you can have a whole sequence where they all walk in and they see, all the children being processed and everything, and the full horror of what he has escaped hits Finn, and he's actually rather glad he has decided to face his fears. And Poe's like, I'll go get us a ship to get all these kids off the planet. Finn and Han start trying to free everybody. That's where Captain Phasma comes in. What are you doing with my soldiers? You traitor! Han and her and Finn all start kind of having a firefight. Maybe another stormtrooper comes in, and they're kind of having a firefight around the kids. We kind of see that Phasma's a little bit more complicated, that she kind of has a dark motherliness to her, because she's actually really kind of concerned about these kids, but not necessarily in a healthy, positive way. They all kind of work together. Maybe Hux is actually useful. Who cares? At some point, maybe like she's about to take a shot at Han, and Finn blindsides her and knocks her into a trash compactor and gets her out of the way for a bit. Eventually, they free all the kids. Poe shows up and he's got a ship. They lead all the kids onto the ship to get off the planet. While all this is happening, Rey and Chewbacca are wandering around placing explosives, maybe taunting some mouse droids to run off. And Rey has this like vision, and she starts kind of wandering off, and Chewbacca's like, hey, where are you going, crazy person? And they enter this room, and it turns out to be Kylo Ren's little shrine that has the helmet of Darth Vader, the remains of it, the burn like we had. But we find out he also has Luke's original lightsaber and R2-D2 in there. And Rey's like, what the? This is all like really weird. And she like comes up to the lightsaber, touches it, and she has that Force vision of Luke and Kylo Ren, all that stuff in the past. Meanwhile, Chewie goes over here and starts working with R2-D2 to get him back up and running. Rey just barely comes out of this vision right as Kylo Ren enters and attacks, and she ducks and barely survives. And he's like, no, stop touching my stuff. Don't take it out of the original packaging. And so he's swinging his lightsaber around, and Rey, who's kind of has the lightsaber, is just ducking and dodging. Maybe at one point she actually activates it and tries to fight a little, but, doesn't do a very good job because first time she's ever touched one. And Kylo's just kind of owning. But she's at least trying to back away to the door and get away. And maybe Kylo's actually about to get the better of her when Chewie finishes reactivating R2-D2, who runs up, maybe gives him a little shock that allows Chewie to just throw him into the wall, and then all of them go running out. Kylo recovers and starts chasing after them. So everyone starts trying to escape, and they all intersect here, and they're all like, Poe's got the children off planet. We all need to get out of here. Oh yeah, BB-8. Maybe he went off with Poe. That's when like Kylo shows up. Han Solo's like, oh, wait, I'm having flashbacks here. Okay, I'll hold him off. The rest of you get away. So everyone grabs the droid and the lightsaber and starts to take off. Han has confrontation with Kylo, pretty much like it was before, only probably not over a bridge. Just Kylo ups and stabs his dad, and Han dies, and everyone's like, no, we really liked him. And then Kylo turns, they're like, oh, but we really need to escape. So they all barely get on the Millennium Falcon or whatever they use to get there, and then all take off and leave. So the good guys escape and they blow up the base. We see maybe some sign that the bad guys got away. Well, we lost a bid with the army. We lost our main base. This all like really sucked. Yeah, let's go talk to the boss. And they set up for whatever they're going to do for the sequel. Everybody comes back to where they met up. Leia's there. Maybe Chewie comes, gives her a big hug because Han died and they all really liked him. So when they all get together, R2-D2 reveals he's got third piece of the map. BB-8's got his third, and then with Leia's third, the map all comes together and we see where Luke Skywalker's hiding. And then this is here where they can set up for the sequel, where Rey decides that she's going to go off to become the Jedi. Finn, pretty shaken up by what he witnessed, resolves that he's going to work more with Leia, free the stormtroopers. Everybody lands, and she finds Luke. Hey, here's your lightsaber. I need you to teach me. So obviously this was all done without any idea what the makers have planned for the sequels, but I wanted to try and leave enough pathways open for characters to develop. While Kylo is still emo fanboy of Darth Vader, he has more menace and evilness about him, and he's still a terrifying, imposing figure that the characters will have to work to try and defeat in later movies. Finn has a more use to the plot, a bit more of a character arc as a man that has just recently been freed from a horrible situation and is learning to move on with his life and adapt to what happened to him. Now with Rey, I'd actually like to see her parents explained and her established as essentially a nobody. We had Anakin Skywalker, who had a prophecy about him. We have Luke, where they talked about his destiny. So for this new arc, let's have someone that is just completely ordinary. In the Old Republic, she would pretty much be just background Jedi number 4, but because of the situation, she has to step up and become a hero, not because of who she was born as, not because of her heritage or any sort of destiny. Rey becomes important and becomes a hero, and she does what needs to be done to defeat evil and help free the galaxy. Phasma, a bit more screen time and a bit more character to her, and plus it allows us to set up an evil trio of characters to oppose our good trio of characters we'll have to work together in order to overcome. That's just how The Force Awakens could have been.
So let's go to the movie. Cause it's almost the time.
Join the dark side.
May the Force be with you.